Students, how are you? Stay home and stay safe. Myself Neeraj and I am back with our next topic, that is transportation in plants. As we have studied about transportation in humans, as we know that transportation is carrying away of material from one part to another part. As plants are so active, so their cells do not need to be supplied with materials so quickly. So plants have slow transport system, and minerals absorbed by the root from the soil are transported by the conducting tissue, that is xylem, and transport of food takes place by conducting tissue, that is phloem. As we know that plants takes raw material like nitrogen, phosphorus and other minerals from the soil. So the absorption of these substances occur through the part in contact with the soil, that is roots. If the distance between the soil contacting organs and chlorophyll containing organs is small, energy and raw materials can easily diffuse to all parts of plant body. If this distance become large because of changes in plant body design, diffusion process will not be sufficient to provide raw material in leaves and energy in roots. Therefore, a proper system of transportation is essential in such situations. As plants do not move and plant body have a large number of dead cells, so they can use slowly transport systems. The distance over which transport system has to operate can be very large in plants, such as in very tall trees. Conducting tissue, xylem moves water and minerals obtained from the soil, and the phloem transports product of synthesis from the leaves to other parts of the plant. Let us start with transport of water in plants. In xylem tissue, vessels and tracheids of roots, stems and leaves are interconnected to form a continuous system of water conducting channels that reach all parts of plant. At the roots, cells take up ions, which creates difference in pressure. To eliminate this pressure, water moves into the root from the soil. So there is steady movement of water from soil to epidermis of root hair, then into cortex, and then endodermis, pericycle, and then to xylem of root. Xylem vessels of the root are interconnected to the xylem vessels of the stem. So water that contain dissolved minerals enter from the root xylem vessels into the stem xylem vessels, and the xylem vessels of the stem that branch into the leaves of the plant. Therefore, the water and minerals carried by xylem vessels in the stem reach the leaves for photosynthesis to take place. It is clear from this figure also that water and minerals are absorbed by the root hairs from the surrounding soil and then transported up the stem by xylem vessels. Pressure is not enough to move the water over the heights that we commonly see in plants. So how do water move up to the highest parts of the plant? Do you know there must be some pull needed to water to reach the highest part of the plant. So how do water reach the uppermost parts of the plant? As the plant has an adequate supply of water and the water is lost through the stomata, is replaced by the water from the xylem vessels. The evaporation of water molecules from the cells of leaf creates a suction pull that helps in pulling water up, and this loss of water from the surface is known as transpiration. And significance of transpiration is it pulls water through the plants and transport of water and minerals along the xylem vessel. Respiration helps in absorption and upward movement of water and minerals dissolved in it from root to the leaves. It also helps in temperature regulation. At night, the effect of root pressure in transport of water is more important, as during day when stomata are open, the transpiration pull becomes the major driving force in the movement of water in the xylem. Now let us study about how food is transported to various parts of plant. We know that food is prepared during the process of photosynthesis in the leaves is to be transported from leaves to other parts. The transport of food is known as translocation, and it occurs in the part of vascular tissue that is phloem. The phloem also transport amino acids and other substances to the storage organs of fruits and seeds, and also to the growing organs. The translocation of food and other substances takes place in the sieve tubes with the help of adjacent companion cells. Translocation of food requires energy in form of ATP. Material like sucrose is transferred into phloem tissue using energy from ATP. This increases the osmotic pressure of the tissue that enters water, and this pressure allows the material in the phloem to the tissue having less pressure. This is the figure showing the movement of water and the food in the upward and downward direction. Water and minerals absorbed from soil are carried away by xylem tissue only in the upward direction and reaches to the leaf, whereas food prepared by the leaf is carried by phloem tissue both in upward direction as well as downward direction. See a small animated clip on movement of water and food in the plants, that is transportation, as if difference between root and leaf is less, then diffusion can take place. But if difference between soil, root and chlorophyll is large, it needs much energy and raw materials cannot diffuse easily. So, proper system of transportation is essential in this case, such as in tall trees. The energy requirement for transportation also varies according to plant structure. I have told you that plants have slow transport system, as plants have large number of dead cells in many tissues. The plants have low energy needs. So tall plants, distance over transport system that is large. Why do plants need a transport system? To carry water, minerals and raw material for photosynthesis in order to survive, like mineral salts, nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium that are essential for the growth of the plant. Water and mineral salts from the soil is transported through roots and through the water carrying tubes in the stem that is known as xylem. So the food that is prepared in the leaves during photosynthesis has to be transported to the other parts of plant, can only be carried by food carrying tubes that is phloem. In xylem, vessels and tracheids are two types of transport tissues in plants. Both vessels and tracheids consist of thick celled walls. In this figure, it is clear about the movement of water in thick celled walls. Tracheids are single celled, shorter in length, whereas vessels are several celled and much longer than the tracheids. In xylem, vessels and tracheids of root, stem and leaves are interconnected, as I have told you earlier also. To facilitate continuous water conduction, xylem from roots to the leaves where photosynthesis has to take place. The upward movement of water. The plant have two types of strategies. That is, as the xylem vessel of the roots are in contact with soil, so it actively absorbs the water ions. Soil has more concentration of water than concentration of water present in roots. So there is a difference in concentration of ions that are present in root and between the soil. So due to difference in concentration of ions, water moves to the roots, and the loss of water that takes place through the leaves is known as transpiration. That creates suction pull for the upward movement of water, that is from root to the leaves. The transpiration takes place through the stomata, that is loss of water vapors through the stomata is known as transpiration. That also helps in temperature regulation, and during day transpiration helps in conduction of water through xylem vessels and maintains balance of ions between root, and it also helps in conduction of water by creating difference in concentration of ions. Now the food prepared during photosynthesis is carried away through the phloem into the different parts of body and with help of sieve tubes. Cereals that are transported to various parts of plants are sucrose, nutrients and carbohydrates. There is both upward and downward movement of food, and that process is known as translocation. The movement of food also requires energy in the form of ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate, that is produced by the photosynthesis.